Hey everyone, let's talk about time. You're probably really confused. Mrs. Ford, what are we talking about with time? We're going to talk about telling time today. And I'm going to go ahead and make a clock on my screen. I know it's not going to be perfect because I'm making it and I'm not perfect. Therefore, my clock's not going to be perfect either. But let's talk about telling time. When we talk about a clock, there are two different types of clocks that we can kind of talk about. We have this kind of clock, which is called an analog clock. And then we also have a thing called a digital clock, which is the one that you may see in the bottom corner of my screen. Maybe you see it on your watch, or maybe you see it on your phone. Okay, so those clocks are a little bit different. Those give us the specific time. We don't have to look at it or try to identify it on our own. But when we're talking about an analog clock, we have to know how to read it and understand what's happening. So an analog clock can have three different hands. The big hand, let's see if I can draw appropriately today. The big thick hand is going to tell us the minutes. And then we have a smaller hand that is going to tell us the hour. And some of those clocks also have another hand which will tell us the seconds. It's kind of in between both of those. Okay, it's a super thin one. So with these three types of hands, they tell us something different. We are going to focus specifically on the big hand and the little hand. When we talk about the big hand, the longer hand, that's going to tell us the minutes. So the long hand equals the minutes. The shorthand is the hour. Now with the long hand, you want to also look at what it is after, okay? So if the long hand is pointing to, the 12, and the shorthand is pointing to a number, you know it is that hour. So you will say it is 2 o'clock, okay? When we talk about the minutes, everything counts by fives. So our 12 becomes the 00 minutes. Our 1 is 05, and we have 10, then we have 15, and 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and 55. So that's when we count by fives. We would skip count by fives for each one of those to tell us what the minutes are for each of our numbers. Okay, I'm going to fix this really quickly. I'm going to make the long hand be black, and I'm going to make the short hand be a little bit different. Okay, so the long hand I'm going to make in black. Sorry, guys. And long hand equals minutes. And then the shorthand I'm going to make in blue. And my hours I'm going to change really quickly to being in blue. That way we can kind of see that a little bit better when we're talking about telling time. So the inside number, the one in blue, is going to tell us the hour. The outside number is going to kind of give us a hint as to the number of minutes. Okay, so anytime we have that long hand pointing up to the 12, it means it's going to be on whatever hour we're talking about. That short hand is going to tell us the specific hour. So long hand to 12, meaning 00. Shorthand to 3, meaning it is 3 o'clock. Okay. You will also sometimes see little dashes in between the numbers. They might look like little tick marks. And so those would be for the 4 minutes in between, but we're not going to spend much time with that today. We're just going to look at the whole numbers for this. So I'd like you guys to tell me if I have my long hand pointing here. And I have my short hand pointing, oh, we'll go about like right there. A little bit shorter. What time do you think it is on the clock? Go ahead and take a moment, pause, and see what time you think it is. My shorthand is just after the 6. So if it's just after that, if it's between 6 and 7, that means it's going to be 6. So it's going to be the hour of 6. And the minutes it's pointing to is pointing to the number 2, which we know is 10 minutes. So it is 6:10. The long hand is pointing to where the 10 would be. And my shorthand is pointing down to where the 6 is. We're just after the 6. The shorthand is going to move as the longhand does. It's just going to move a little bit slower. So let's take a look at another example. My long hand is pointing up here. And my shorthand is pointing right down here. What time do you think it is showing on the clock? Oh, my shorthand is not very short. Let me fix that. What do you think the hour would be? How about the minutes? For this one, my hour would be 7. It hasn't quite gotten to 8. It's almost there, but we're at 7. We're just before the 8, so we're not quite there yet. And my minutes are 55. This is just an introduction. We will spend more time going over how to tell time as we go through different activities, but this is just an introduction. Remember, the longhand points to the minutes. We count by 5s for the minutes. The 12 is going to equal 0 minutes. That means it's right on the hour. The shorthand is going to tell us the hour. If it's not pointing directly to an hour, we want to go to the one that it's after. Not the one that it's going to, but the one that it's after. We'll talk more about the terms that we use when we're talking about telling time in another session together. But I hope this gives you a good start of reviewing telling time. And until then, see you later.